Hello and welcome to another episode of Point and Shoot, a show about basic photography. I'm your host, Susan Hagstrom, and today I'm very happy to be joined by my guest, Robin Chan. Robin is a local photographer and photojournalist. He's the staff photographer at Gatehouse Media. He covers all kinds of things we're going to hear about, but all over Southeast Massachusetts, but mostly Hingham, Norwell, Scituate, and Cohasset. I know I've seen you on the sidelines for years and years, so very happy to have you joining us today.
I'm happy to be here.
So I want to hear a little bit about, you had kind of an interesting start into photography, maybe not the normal route that some have taken. So tell us a little bit about your college education years.
Okay. So I went to BC for my undergrad, where I studied biology as my major, and I my minor was in history.
Okay.
And I did 3 years of undergrad research in a biochemistry lab, looking into ATCase, which is an enzyme in
Okay.
the pyrimidine pathway.
Wow.
And so I spent a lot of years in the lab working on gels and assays and things like that to record the activity of the enzyme.
Okay.
And
did you do photography as a hobby then? Were you at all interested?
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I was doing photography here and there. I was really blessed to go to amazing family vacations where we go to Yellowstone and Yosemite, and it's really easy to be kind of inspired by the natural beauty.
Exactly.
And so I was the family photographer, and
Okay.
that's how kind of I started. And I did take one photography class at college. I took a black and white studio class where we learned about how to process our own film and use the enlarger and basic skills like dodging and burning and things like that.
And then after BC, you went to China, right?
Yes.
Took a job there, and what were you doing there?
So at BC, I was really instilled with a sense of volunteerism. A lot of my classmates and friends went abroad to do immersion programs and did Appalachian Volunteers during spring break. So during my time at BC, I went to a postgraduate volunteer fair where I learned about this program from Maryknoll, which is another order of the Catholic Church, where they teach English as a foreign language in China.
Okay.
And so what appealed to me about that program is the fact that it was only a one-year program, and the fact that I would be going to China where my parents are from.
Okay.
So I've never been to China before that time, and I thought that would be a great experience to not only learn about my heritage and the culture and things like that, but also to take a time off after 3 long years of undergrad research.
Okay. So you're in China, you've got your camera with you, and there's a really interesting story that I read on your website which ended up playing a pivotal role in what later became your occupation. So tell us a little bit about what happened one day when you had your camera with you.
So during the Chinese New Year, that's when we have our winter break. Doesn't coincide with the Christmas holiday, but it coincides with the Chinese New Year.
Okay.
And so during the Chinese New Year break, I went with a few of the other volunteers to a retreat in Thailand.
Oh, okay.
And I was staying near a Catholic school, and one morning I decided to wake up early to photograph the sunrise. The school was right by a beautiful beach, Hua Hin, and I knew that I kind of, since I enjoy nature, sunrises and sunsets are something I really enjoy capturing.
Okay.
And so I knew I wanted to capture the sunrise, and I walked on the beach, and I walked along, I see monks kind of praying alongside and walking and praying with their beads at the same time, and it was it was a great time, just very peaceful,
right,
and reflective, and with sunrises or sunsets, it's important to think of the elements you want to include, and I wanted to have a silhouette and to have a foreground that's interesting.
Okay.
And not just to have a beautiful sunrise,
Exactly.
you have to have an additional element that makes it interesting.
Okay.
So I saw these umbrellas that were just stuck in the ground on the beach, and I stationed my tripod behind it so that the ocean and the sunrise will be in the background, and then the umbrellas are in between. And
Okay.
so I thought that would be a pretty good,
Right.
nice shot. And so I definitely took a few shots, and the sun was beginning to rise, and I noticed that a family was walking down the beach, and they couldn't plan it any better because the father stopped right in between the umbrellas in the gap
Right.
and picked up probably a seashell to show his young, maybe 4-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And I saw the scene develop in the viewfinder, and I knew it was a special moment. And I clicked as fast as I could, and the father got up and continued walking with his family. And I think I might have fired maybe 2 or 3
Okay.
shots, maybe even just 2. And I knew it was a special moment, but I was like so nervous I didn't get it.
Right.
And I was using my film camera back in the day,
Right.
and I couldn't, I didn't know I got it until I got the film back.
Right. So.
And just the excitement that of getting the film back and seeing, oh, I actually nailed it, and
Right.
That those type of moments is what really drives most photographers.
Exactly. So that anticipation and excitement was the thing that inspired you to think, this is really what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that was a great story. And so now we are fast forward, and you're a photojournalist. Now, when people talk about photojournalism, what does that mean to you? How does that influence the rest of your photography? What does that style mean?
So photojournalist is really, you're documenting history.
Okay.
Whether it's, hard news or even just sports, you're documenting the history of a team.
Okay.
In the sense that whether they won a championship or they lost in the playoffs, you're documenting a specific moment in time of someone's life.
Okay, good.
And you're capturing their memories.
Excellent. Now, as a photojournalist, what is your typical week like? What would be your weekly assignments, kind of day to day?
It varies quite a bit.
Okay.
It varies from like a local luncheon with senior citizens hosted by the police department to town election to a high school sports game to
Okay.
A portrait that I need to photograph because that person either is raising money for a charity or wrote a book or
Okay.
so we have to set up a portrait with them at their home and something
Okay.
involving what they're doing in the picture.
So it sounds like a pretty wide variety of things, and I suppose you also need to be on call for breaking news.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, what sort of are the most things that you like about the job, and then some of the things that are more challenging? It sounds like one of the things that you might like is just that sheer variety. I mean, it's not the same thing every day. It's always something different, right?
Yeah.
Is that, would you say? And what else? What are the other sort of rewarding parts of your job?
Definitely probably just meeting people.
Okay.
Just like, hearing people's stories and sharing in their lives.
Okay.
It's kind of a blessing to also be part of a community for so long that so many people know me.
Yeah.
And it's just hearing what their kids are doing and what they're up to. It's just that's definitely a great aspect of this job.
Cool. And then how about challenging things? I'm sure, I don't know if you're under deadlines or rough weather that you have to be out in. What are sort of some of the more challenging parts of your job?
Definitely the most challenging for me personally would be covering either hard spot news or a funeral.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely have covered a number of funerals during the course of my time at the Hingham Journal and the Gatehouse Media and other towns. And it's always a challenge to photograph that event respectfully.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know?
I can understand that.
And just the emotions that the people are going through.
Right.
It's really, for me, it's a challenge for
Okay.
sure. And then also the scheduling is also kind of difficult too. Just whether it's turning on a dime to go to a fire or maybe dealing with a unlikely schedule, like a unconventional schedule where
Okay.
it's difficult to plan things with my friends,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
But
Now I know with your reporting photographs, you've won many awards. If you check out Robin's website, you'll see a lot of award-winning photos there. What are? Can you pick out a few, either recent or other awards that you've won that are really especially meaningful to you?
I think one would definitely be when I was named Photographer of the Year for the New England weekly newspapers.
Oh.
So we annually compete in a contest from the New England Newspaper Press Association, NENPA.
Okay.
I might be getting that wrong.
Okay.
But, so we enter each year, and we enter in many different categories like sports, picture story, features, spot news, and based on the results in those categories, you advance to be considered to be Photographer of the Year.
Okay.
And then you send in a portfolio with
Okay.
more work, and then from there they decide whether or not you're
Okay.
good enough to be
Right.
named Photographer of the Year.
Oh.
And you're based on circulation size.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not competing against the Boston
Exactly.
Globe,
So that's good. Yeah.
but I'm competing against other weekly newspapers who cover suburban
Okay.
towns.
Good.
So I'm not competing against like really difficult Red
Yeah.
Sox or
Yeah,
that kind
exactly.
of thing.
Oh, well, congratulations. Now, on the show, we talk a lot about gear. Photographers are always into their gear. They're always lugging it, and they're always wanting something, so there's always something new to want to buy. Now, with your gear, does the paper supply you with cameras and lenses that you take on assignment, or do you use your own gear?
I mostly predominantly use my own gear. So the newspaper initially provided some Nikon gear,
Okay.
and I wasn't really happy with the results, and there's a lot of back focusing issues initially, and like the color rendition wasn't
Okay.
as great as I was used to. So I started using my own Canon gear, and I'm much more comfortable using it.
Okay.
It's kind of weird that everything's backwards. So if you're having a faster shutter speed, with the Canon it's one way, and the Nikon
Okay.
it's the other way. So it's kind of funny that way. But
So what do you use for a camera? Or you probably have a number of cameras that you use in different situations, but...
I predominantly use a Canon 5D Mark II, which is a full frame camera, and also a Canon 1D Mark IV, which I use predominantly when I'm shooting sports.
Okay.
But I always have the two bodies on me all the time, because the nature of my business is oftentimes you can't repeat a moment.
Right.
So whether it's on a sports field or in a fire or whatever, at a graduation,
Okay.
if I miss that moment, I miss that moment.
Right. So you have to be ready to go.
So I have to be ready to go. And so that's why I always have a wide lens around my neck and a telephoto lens around my hip,
Okay.
so that if I see something far away, I can just quickly bring up my telephoto and zoom
You've got
in.
it all covered between those two.
Yeah.
Now, we heard a little bit about how you first became inspired. All these years later, what do you do to stay inspired?
It's challenging. I think probably working on meaningful projects is
Okay.
probably something that helps me keep inspired. I'm lucky that I can work on long-term photo essays and projects that are important to me. So like last year, I worked on a long-term project at a high school for addicts, so recovering addicts.
Okay.
And so a recovery school.
Okay.
And I followed a number of students for the course of the year. And as you know, addiction is a very difficult and rising problem in the South Shore.
Sure.
And across the Commonwealth.
Right.
And I've always wanted to do something on addiction. and I didn't know how to approach it because for the most part it's a very negative story.
Right.
But these kids are committed to recovery and working to be clean. And so there are 4 high schools like this type.
Okay.
There's one in Brockton, which covers all of the southeast Massachusetts,
Okay.
even the Cape. There's one in Springfield. There's one in downtown Boston and one in the North Shore.
Okay.
And so their model is quite different, where they work to focus on the kids' recovery first
Okay.
rather than the academics.
So I could see how that kind of project would keep you inspired, keep everything fresh while you're still dealing with your day-to-day schedule.
And also too, like another thing would be the challenge of finding something new at an event that always happens, like a graduation
Right.
or a 4th of July parade. I always do those things, and so
Right.
that's easy to get lazy.
Right.
But sometimes you find some extraordinary images, and so those, always searching for those extraordinary moments is what
Cool.
I'm looking for.
Well, you've heard a little bit about the wide variety of shooting that Robin does. One of the main things that he does is sports photography. We talked a little bit about that. A few weeks ago, our own Mark Brody caught up with Robin on the sidelines of a Hingham lacrosse game and filmed Robin in action taking shots. So we're going to take a look at some of that tape. And Robin, what can you tell us about that game? It was a Hingham varsity lacrosse?
Yeah, so it was during the Division II tournament against Norwood. I believe it might be a quarterfinal game.
Okay.
And it was held at Hingham, and Hingham High dominated that game.
Good.
So
All right, let's take a look.
429. Hi, I'm Robin Chan. I'm from the Hingham Journal. I'm here covering the Division II South third round game between Hingham and Norwood. It's a boys lacrosse game here on sunny Hingham High. So as a newspaper photographer, I covered usually the entire game. I get peak action shots, important goals, reaction shots. What we're looking for is emotion, juke shots. The kids love those. You can see the kids' faces and their expressions, whether it's the agony of defeat or the joys of victory. That's what we're looking for. That's the money shot that we say in the business. And so oftentimes we use different types of gear. We use, here I use the Canon 1D Mark IV with a 300-2.8. I need the long lens to get the action shots on the field. Photographer, I have 2 camera bodies with 2 sets of lenses. This one has a 70-200 and this one has a 300. And the reason why I have 2 bodies is that I can quickly switch from one focal length to the other. So a jube shot is what we call in the industry a jubilation shot. So that happens at the end of the game when the team wins the championship trophy or advances to the next round on a close game. That's when the kids are really excited. They're jumping up and down, and so we always want the kids' emotions, expressions that we want to blow it big in the newspaper so you can see the eyes and the faces really well. So that's what the editors are looking for. Just in general, newspaper photographers look for emotion. One thing I always look when I first come to the field, when I'm shooting a game, is where my shadow lies. I usually want to have the sun behind me. So I position myself on the field so that the shadow is cast onto the field or to the side. I'm Robin Chan, and I'm a photojournalist.
Welcome back to Point and Shoot. We're here today with Robin Chan, award-winning photojournalist. We just got to see Robin in action on the sidelines of a Hingham lacrosse game. And now we're going to take a little closer look at some stills that Robin's going to share with us of some sports and other subjects. Now here we are of a still right from that very game that we just saw Robin shooting. This is quite an action shot there. Were you far away or close to the action?
I'm probably like decently close. I'm using my 300-2.8 right here, and
Okay.
I was kneeling so to get as low as possible, and probably like 20-30 yards away.
Okay.
And what I like about this picture is the fact that the Norwood shooter is almost parallel to the ground. It's kind of difficult to see. And if you notice, it's hard to see, but the ball is right by his foot
Oh yeah.
in the air. So the one thing about the challenge of sports photography is capturing peak action. So here is another peak action where the hockey puck just barely crosses over the goal line for a goal. And this is during the state title game between Woburn and Duxbury at the Garden. And so here's another shot of a Norwood football player making a great one-handed catch along the sidelines against Braintree. It's always challenging with football, figuring out who's going to catch the ball. Usually try to follow the quarterback's eyes and focus that area of the field.
And you're using a pretty fast shutter speed in that?
Well, every time, usually with sports, you need at least 1/500 or faster to capture peak action. Here, I'm covering a road race in Scituate. I wanted to get the blur of movement, motion. And to capture that, I'm panning with the runners and freezing the action with a flash.
That's something that takes some practice.
Yes, and I'm lucky. This girl actually won the race, which even adds more to the picture. Yeah. More meaning to the picture. So.
Yeah, it's a dramatic shot.
And with sports photography, not only are you capturing the action, but you also want to capture the background, the essence of the game. Playing at Fenway Park was more important than capturing action shots. So you want to include elements like the green monster to give you...
know exactly where that is. Yep.
And so I'm also looking on the sidelines and capturing moments where that's interesting. Here, I'm covering a lacrosse game at Harvard Stadium, and this is during halftime, and it was a beautiful day. Right after winter, everyone wants to... capture the sun. And so this lady was just sunbathing during halftime, and I captured the rows to the clean element of the Harvard Stadium stairs. So
that's kind of like the duplicity of the rows, and then all of a sudden broken up by the subject.
Yeah. And here is a fan shot. The fans are crazy. The high school kids are going nuts at a playoff game, and I thought this was a unique shot because it's a baby in a sea of hands. He's doing the same thing as the fans during a free throw, and the student was taking care of the baby as part of a high school class.
Right, so we want our viewers to know that's not a real baby.
And so I want to capture different elements of an event, wide angle shot, close-up sports. Here, I'm really quite low at right by the starting block. And I know this is one of the star swimmers because it's in the inside, and I've covered these teams quite a bit, so I know that I'll get good action from this swimmer.
Okay.
Here is dramatic lighting from the same pool, different event, different meet, but this is a swimmer just warming up, and it's amazing what light can do to make pictures pop.
Now, the other thing about this is the composition, where you have sort of the top 2/3 with just the water and the light falling on it, but then the very dramatic subject in the bottom third. That's, of course, that rule of thirds we've talked about a lot on this program. So that really works here. You can really see that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And here is, the jube shot you really want to capture. So the Norwell girls lacrosse team just won the state title, and I saw a number of girls run to get the Gatorade bottle, the Gatorade thing, and I knew that they're going to dump it on the coach, and I was frantically trying to find the coach, and I was like, turning my head everywhere, looking, and I finally found a coach talking to the parents, and I positioned myself in such a way to capture perfectly the dump, and it's quite a challenge to get these shots. And here, you want to get the kids' faces and the trophy, and this is from a recent lacrosse title game, Cohasset winning the D3 South title. Here, I'm actually just doing a Hail Mary. And the Hail Mary is when I'm sticking the camera up and have a wide-angle lens, and I'm just shooting away, just hoping and praying that I got a good jube shot.
It'll work, perfect.
And somehow I'm really good at these Hail Mary shots. Maybe it's the Catholic school background I have. Here, so not only do I capture celebrations, but I'm capturing depression shots.
The agony of defeat.
Agony of defeat. And here, it's a very important game between Hingham and Duxbury for the league title, and you get the captain being comforted by another senior, and you see in the background the final score of the game, the Guest 26, Hingham 19. Okay. And so you have context in this picture. You want to include information that's important, that tells a story. But you also want to have a clean background. You don't want, perfectly, I would have shifted a little bit further to the left so that the goal post in the background wouldn't come out of his shoulders. But those moments don't last that long. So I wanted to get at least a moment and the scoreboard, and if I get anything else, that'd be better. That'd be great. Another agony of defeat here. What's even better is also the fact that I'm capturing the celebration of the winning team. So you see the agony of defeat in the foreground, and in the background, celebration, the girls just winning the D2 South title in basketball.
Okay. So now we've seen a lot of sports photography, but you do a lot of other types of things too. Now, what was this on assignment, or was
No. So sometimes I'm sent out to search for photos.
Okay.
So I'm just driving around in town,
oh, wow.
and I'm constantly looking side to side, looking for interesting moments. And this is during the fall, just when the leaves are going down, and I'm hoping to get some fall foliage and things like that.
Right.
And I saw this family throwing their kids into a big pile of leaves down in the bottom.
Right.
And, I passed them, and I saw, oh, that's going to be a cool moment. I hope they keep on doing it.
Yeah.
And so I turned around, threw my car to the side in Norwell, and I walked up to the house, and I asked them, hey, I'm a photographer from the Norwell Mariner. Do you think I can photograph you guys while you do this? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so, I got into the yard, and they kept on throwing the kids up into the pile of leaves, and I was low to get that dramatic,
great expressions on
great expression of the faces, and I timed my shutter so that he's at the height of the throw.
Okay.
I worked this in many different. I have probably like 50 to 75 photos
Oh,
of
wow.
the family. They had 3 kids. They were taking turns.
Okay.
And so maybe I was doing wide angle. Sometimes I was doing telephoto from far away just to get different angles and feel.
Okay.
And I thought that this was the best photo.
Wow, now here's a very dramatic shot.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
So this is I think a 3-alarm fire that happened earlier, late last year in Cohasset. I was covering another assignment in Cohasset, and I was covering a school event. I think an author was visiting, talking to 3rd graders or kindergartners. And I got a text message from my photo editor saying, there's a 3-alarm fire in Cohasset. You need to cover it. So I ran out of the school, hopped into my car, ran and drove down to, I forget what the name of the antique store. It's at on 228 in West Cohasset near the Hingham and Hull
Intersection, yep.
And excuse me, and they it was a very memorable fixture in the town,
Right.
with unique things and unique mural, and so it's a historic building. In fact,
Okay.
it had a branch of a library there
Oh, wow.
for a long time ago.
Okay.
So there's a lot of history involved, and they were many towns were fighting this fire: Cohasset, Hingham, Situate, and they were doing their best to fight the fire and saving the building because it's such a fixture. And unfortunately, there's so much paper in the attic from the antique store, it just
Burned down.
burned down. And so I'm right below a ladder truck with my wide-angle lens. What's helpful working in these communities for so long, all the fire chiefs know me by now.
Okay.
So they know what I'm doing, and they're comfortable with me being at the scene and being close. And so unfortunately, the Cohasset firefighters at the scene had to retreat because the smoke was too much.
Wow.
Here is another poignant moment after a Memorial Day celebration observance in Situate. They go to the Veterans Cemetery and honor the veterans there. And afterwards, I, walking around, noticed this gentleman probably praying
Right.
to his grandfather. And
Oh.
I positioned myself to have a clean background so that the U.S. flags are, lining up towards the subject.
Okay.
And I was at a distance, so to be respectful to that moment where
Sure.
he's, obviously, in his, praying. And,
Right.
and so you have to. I want to be mindful of that as well.
Right.
And so it's Memorial Day. I cover every single year, and it's easy, like I said earlier, that to be kind of bored by the routine of it.
Right.
And
So you look for a new vantage point, a new perspective.
yeah,
Okay.
and so I'm always exploring. I'm always walking around and finding those moments and
Okay.
capturing them and
Now here's a picture we talked about earlier in the show, so it's great to see this. This was the thing that really inspired you once you were so excited to anticipate, go see what you thought you had captured a great moment, and of course we can see that it turned out your hunch was absolutely correct.
Yeah, I was glad I was there to not only capture the moment, but to be there and to witness it.
Right.
It was a special moment between father and daughter, and just the beautiful scenery, and I was really blessed to be able to capture that moment.
Great. Well, now we've seen a lot of your still photography. We saw you in action. And there's one more thing we want to talk about. In addition to still photography, you've gotten into making some short movies. And that utilizes a lot of the different skills that you've been worked on in photojournalism. So we're going to take a look at a short clip from a movie that you have done. What can you tell us about this, about the movie, and then about the little clip?
So in the new age of photojournalism, the employers, the publishers want us to create unique content for the website
Okay.
to drive audience to our website. So that's why I'm creating all these multimedia videos, audio slideshows, and things like that.
Okay.
And here we're doing a story on some Weymouth students who are training at a boxing gym in Quincy.
Okay.
And I thought that that was an interesting thing to study.
Sounds interesting. Let's take a look.
Now move, now move.
The more you practice, the more you're going to be confident. You play how you practice, so practice hard all the time.
It's just a fun sport to watch, and it must be even funner to take part in, like to box.
That's also builds character, you know? I tell some of these kids, you know, you're gonna get knocked down in life too. You know what I mean? And you gotta get back up, and that's what builds character, you know? So this is a good thing the kids are getting here, you know?
Moving, moving, moving. Give me 4. Ha, 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 quick. Hands up. Very good, very good.
Wow, that was awesome. If you want to see more of that video or additional videos or other samples of Robin's work, if you want to find out about how to hire him, see all of his many awards that he's won, you can check out his website. It's robinchanphoto.com. And thanks very much for joining us today, Robin. It was very interesting to hear about photojournalism. So that's it for our show today. Thanks for joining us. Remember, if you want to be a great photographer, you can do some of the things that Robin's talked about, but you got to start with 2 things: point and shoot.